Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
Movie.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex?
Klopex.
Klopek.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Cult Film in Review. My name's Cody Everett, and I'm glad you're with us. We are basically going to review cult films, or B-movies, whatever, and tell you guys about them and what we love about them and what we hate about them. We have a great group of guys that are going to review these films with you and myself. I'm really excited about this. Our first film is going to be The Toxic Avenger, which is really close to home for me. It's one of the films that I grew up loving because I originally saw it when I was 8 years old, when my parents let me rent it from Schnucks grocery store on VHS and watch it by myself. At 8, seeing a head splatter is something crazy. So we'll talk about that and more. Enjoy the show.
I'm gonna make that body mine. You turn me on, you make me wild, you drive me insane. I feel the heat, I lose control, I'm so excited, I just wanna listen to your body talk.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Cult Film in Review. I'm Cody Everett, your host. This is going to be a really cool show. Basically, what we're here to do is review cult films. I am a filmmaker myself. Everybody in this room is pretty much a filmmaker. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. We'll start to my left.
Hi, my name is Mike Salustio. I write over at Friendly Neighborhood Filmmaking, which is a blog that covers filmmaking, really.
Is that what it does?
That's what it does.
All
yeah.
right.
And you can find me at friendlyneighborhoodfilmmaking.com, and you can also find me on Twitter at Michael Salustio.
Sitting in the comfy couch, Chris Willenbrecht. Why don't you introduce yourself after I just said your name?
My name's Chris. I work over at Brain Damage Films and Midnight Releasing. We are a local in the Phoenix area distribution company for independent horror films.
Nice. You have a Twitter or Facebook or anything?
I
people
hate
can find
Twitter.
You on? Okay.
I can't do Twitter.
Okay.
Facebook, my
Instagram,
name.
anything?
Instagram, yep. Guarorama, Gwarorama, like the band.
Awesome. You can find him at Guarorama. Next up, directly across from me, is Kyle Smith. Kyle Smith, why don't you tell the people about yourself?
I am Kyle Smith. I am the owner proprietor of Bluefield Audio and Sound. Mostly do sound design in the Phoenix area. You can find me at facebook.com/Bluefield Audio, as well as Twitter. I believe it's under Pliskin 426. Pliskin as if Snake Pliskin 426.
Oh, Snake Plissken. All right, guys, I'm Cody Everett. You can find me on Facebook under Cody Everett. You can also find me on Instagram as the official Cody Everett. What we're here to do is talk about cult films. We are all pretty much big fans of cult films, I would say, and we were going to review them, talk about them, what we love about them, what we hate about them, stuff like that. Necessarily, what does make a cult film? Kyle, what do you think makes a cult film?
You know, I've been thinking a lot about that actually lately. You know, I think it's quotability. That's what I've come down to. That's what I've narrowed it down to.
So it's a movie. If it has a lot of quotes, then it's a cult film?
I don't think that if it has a lot of quotes, I think if it has a lot of memorable scenes that people would love to quote later on. I mean, because we're talking about, look at the films that are classified as cult films. You have Big Lebowski, but then you also have films like what we're reviewing today, which you haven't introduced yet, but that's
the Toxic Avenger.
Thank you very much, Toxic Avenger. Now, why are both those films considered cult classics while they are miles apart? I think it's because there is quotability. There's hilarious shit that is said in that, and it's funny. And people like to repeat it.
Mike, what do you think a cult film is?
I agree with Kyle on that. Definitely quotability is an important part of it, but I also feel like it is a film that strays from the mainstream, but has a ridiculously high following. I mean, I think it's in the name, a cult. Like, what is a cult? Like, we think of a cult as not being a mainstream religion, but something that people are adamantly addicted to or find themselves to be drawn to, and they see that as being something they connect with. So yeah, I think cult film is something that, yeah, basically strays from the mainstream, but at the same time is highly, highly popular.
Hey, Chris, can a mainstream film be a cult film though? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with what Mike is saying?
Yeah, because I think mainstream just means that you're familiar with it. It means that if it's recognizable, if it's a household name or something that you could say and most people would know what you're talking about, like that is mainstream. It doesn't mainstream doesn't only apply to say what comes out of Hollywood or what comes out of Los Angeles or New York or it's projected that, and that is part of it, is it's projected so far that no matter where you're from, where you live, anything like that, you recognize it. So it's recognizability.
I agree. I think a cult film can be a mainstream film. I think that a cult film basically means that the film wasn't so popular at first, and then it finally found its audience. And once it found its audience, then it became a cult film or a cult classic.
I would agree with that. I think it wasn't Big Lebowski when it first came out a flop.
I think most cult films are flops when they come out.
Exactly. I think maybe that's a defining characteristic. It fails at the box office, but picks up steam on the VHS market, which is a old statement to make. But I think that's really what created a lot of cult films was the VHS market.
Oh, I agree.
Well, I want to clarify. I don't mean necessarily to say that when I say straying from the mainstream, that it is not a Hollywood film versus independent film. I mean more along lines of a try by numbers kind of thing.
No happy ending.
Well, not necessarily that. Something that deviates from what we're normally seeing in the Hollywood realm or even the independent realm, and it strays from that, and that maybe that might have some kind of thing involved in.
So I can give examples of films that are necessarily cult films that are mainstream films that follow Hollywood to a T, but still fail.
Well,
Waterworld, Congo.
You say
like
Waterworld.
These movies follow Hollywood to a T, but still are huge flops, but have a cult following.
Is Waterworld a cult film?
I would definitely, dude. I would definitely.
If it's not, it will be soon.
So maybe to reiterate, maybe not necessarily mainstream, but popularity. I mean, if we're going on the thing that we're saying that maybe these things are flops at first, and yet somehow find this audience that are just diehard fans of these things. Maybe that's the better word. Maybe popularity versus mainstream.
One thing I would point out is that I don't think all cult films were flops. It's just how long it stands the test of time. Really, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's plenty of films that were loved just as much when they came out as they still are, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was weird. It was bizarre. People hadn't seen anything like it before. But overall, it wasn't a flop. It was, it turned into a play, I believe. And then people started performing this on their own. They started taking it to movie theaters and they started, acting alongside with the film while it was playing and interacting with the audience. And that kind of started from the jump, really.
Do you think that was the film that kind of started cult films?
No.
I think it was in the right time.
I think going back to what
I mean is mass popularity. That movie reached mass popularity with a lot of weird stuff.
I think honestly the cult film didn't truly exist until VHS and home video came about.
Go ahead. No.
No, that's what I had to say right there.
Okay.
That was the
I do believe that there was you work for a company called Midnight Releasing, or at least a sister company, right? Correct?
Yes.
I mean, and that has a very historic thing in film, that there was a time where people went to go see these double features in theaters that were midnight releasing features, that you went to go there and you saw these double features, and they were films that might not have the mainstream backing that you would see in a Hollywood film, but they found a cult following. Eraserhead started that way as a midnight releasing. A lot of cult films.
Yeah, it played right alongside the Rocky Horror Picture Show and El Topo, and it's just they all had a run. They had there was the Pink Flamingos.
Yep.
same thing. Like they all played really late at night, and you had to really want to go see them. And I think there was like a charm to that because that's part of the reason why it built so slowly is that because it wasn't home video, it was going to theaters, and it was you sitting there and buying popcorn and not knowing what to expect and being immersed in this whole like experience. Whereas like when video came out, it just you were in your house and discovering things in secret, pretty much. In secret.
So I think we have a good understanding then what a cult film is, I would say. I hope you guys agree with us. If you don't, just let us know on one of our Facebook pages or whatever. Tell us you hate us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying tuned. I really appreciate that. Right now, we're going to talk about the movie that we all came to talk about. We all watched it recently. It's called The Toxic Avenger. Came out in 1984 from Troma Films. This is my definition of a cult classic. This is a movie that I saw when I was like 8 years old, and I've loved ever since. So I'm really excited to talk about this film. But my first question and my first thing that I want to know, guys, is what do you classify this film under? Because this is Troma classifies this film under as a horror film, and I want to know what you guys classify it under as. Mike?
Schlock?
That's a good one. That's good.
I would probably put it that. I don't know that it follows traditional horror films. I at no point in time am I scared of Toxie. At no point, he's the hero, essentially. The monster of the film is the hero, which is the opposite of what we normally know from a horror film. It's just that there's some metaphysical or creature of some sort that follows people, kills people, or whatever, and it's the villain or the protagonist. This is he's the hero. We're all rooting for Toxie.
I would actually classify it as unrated action adventure. I think that's
action adventure.
Exactly. Well, the unrated part is because of all the extremely gruesome and graphic and gory scenes. But really, at the core of it, I mean, if I didn't know that a comic book of Toxic Avenger didn't exist when I watched this movie, then I would have thought it was a comic book film. It really is. It's an origin story. You see this character who is weak and beaten down, and he, by some strange thing, he gains powers. I mean, it's essentially Spider-Man's origin story, but with toxic waste. So
Okay.
I would say it's an action adventure film with extremely high level of gore.
Chris, what would you put it under as? What category?
Comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to what I was going to put it in.
Yeah, I would say comedy. I mean, the horrific part about the film is not necessarily Toxie or his story. Actually, that you're mortified by the people that do this to him. Like in
Bozo.
the beginning, right?
Bozo.
Like they're horrible people.
Slug.
Like I just remember the scene where they're tossing him back and forth, repeating each other, just saying like the worst shit they could possibly say to him. And this poor guy, this like buck-toothed guy, is just like being like thrown around like a rag doll, doesn't have any friends. Like you feel bad for him, right? And then the worst thing happens. Like you think he's dead, but no, he comes back as this like superhero. And the dialogue is so comical that, like, you're right, Mike. There is nothing scary about this film. There's nothing horror about it. I would even lump what Kyle said into it, an action, like an unrated action comedy with horror. I wouldn't even say horror. I would say gore elements.
See, what I put it under is I put it under actually a dark comedy. That's what I put it under. And I will actually go as far as to say it is the most successful dark comedy of all time.
I don't know about that. I mean,
How? It spawned a children's television show and 4 sequels. How?
Well, I remember the animated series.
yeah, I used to
Let's
watch
be
that when I
honest.
was a kid.
It was not a dark comedy. There was nothing dark about it. It was let's save the environment. It
The
was basically
cartoon,
the precursor
but not the
to
film.
Not the film, the cartoon.
no,
That's
the
what-
cartoon. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did that?
Actually, I think it aired along with Captain Planet. I think it was on
Yeah.
the air at the exact same time.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this question. Then how did that movie, which has gore elements in it, which is, I consider a dark comedy, not the most successful dark comedy of all time, if it spawns how does a dark comedy spawn a children's television show? No other dark comedy has done that.
It's the 80s, man.
Hey, I would say Beetlejuice is a dark comedy.
So, okay, you could put Beetlejuice against it. I did not think of that, and that is a
And that's
great
true.
point.
There was an animated feature of Beetlejuice
Yes,
for
there
sure.
was. There was
For
an
a long
animated series,
time.
yeah.
But the amount of gore in Toxie
that's
is
true.
nowhere near close to fucking Beetlejuice.
You're right.
Nowhere near it.
So everyone knows that Toxic Avenger was shot on a $500,000 budget, right?
I believe it. That was a lot of money back then.
Well, I did want to ask this because there is a point in the film towards the end where they have tanks.
yeah.
As a filmmaker, somebody that is, how the fuck do you get tanks?
I said the same
I'm
thing.
pretty sure the tanks and everything cost about $495,000 of that $500,000 budget.
The rest of the budget.
The $5,000 was put on the rest of the film.
Hey, they drove a car off a cliff and it exploded. That cost a little
Dude,
bit
that
of
could have
money.
been stock footage.
There was
I
so
mean,
much stock footage in that movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
My other
I'd
here-
like to find out.
So $500,000 budget.
Let's ask Lloyd Kaufman.
I would like. I've heard Lloyd Kaufman say before the $500,000 budget. They have stuck to that budget for like Toxic Avenger movies. Keep going forward because they can do so much more now with $500,000 than they could then.
Well, I mean, for $500,000, they actually got 2 films out of it because the second film is actually it's just the extra footage that he had left over from Toxic Avenger, the first one. He shot way too much, and he actually turned the leftover footage into a second film.
So basically, out of $500,000, he gets 2 films.
he got 2 films.
He got 2 films.
So really, Toxic Avenger is like a $250,000.
I guess that's not too bad, but I mean, judging from what we know from independent filmmaking now, can you imagine what you would do with $500,000?
In the 80s, a lot.
No, but can you imagine what you would do with it now?
Oh, probably not much. I'd
no,
probably
could do
get like
so much.
I would get like a
So
solid.
much.
I would get like a solid spaceship, and that was it.
No, dude. No,
Like,
you
get the fuck out of here when I need
Call
to.
Skywalker Ranch and just make a fucking spaceship for me right now. How much? $500,000. All right, I'll just raise another $1,000 and do the rest of my
I'll do a
film.
Kickstarter.
So we got the spaceship, guys. Now what we need is another $1,000 to film the movie.
Yes.
The other thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that it also spawned a live stage show.
That I did not know.
Yeah, also a stage show. So Jesus. And there was talk, I don't know if it's still going on, but there was talk in like 2010 of a remake happening with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie. I don't know if he was going to play Toxie or not, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be in a Toxic Avenger remake.
I don't know. That sounds like something that somebody said it.
No, dude, that was
like, and it just took off because people loved the idea.
I am going to disagree with you, Chris, because if you start to type in the word Toxic Avenger on Google, the second result is Toxic Avenger Remake.
And I would like to note that I checked out Wikipedia after I saw this film, and I did note that they did say in 2010 they did say that they were actually going to make a remake. I mean, I guess it's 5 years in the making, or it's completely gone. I don't know, but it is certainly something that they were bouncing around at the time.
I will say the whole time I was watching this movie, I did think to myself, I bet you if they remade this, I might enjoy it a little bit more.
Like, do you think they would do like a RoboCop remake of it? Like,
I hope not.
staying kind of true, but
mean-
like in a modern era. It's not toxic. Maybe it's.
I think it should still be toxic, but I mean, let's. I don't want to go off topic. I want to hijack this podcast, but I will go on record saying I did like the RoboCop remake. It
No,
was
I did too, as well.
badass.
Jumping back to, I just really quick, I just remembered something. So Mark Torgel, who plays Melvin in the beginning of the film,
Yeah.
I actually got a chance to meet that guy.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, I
I would like to meet him.
Okay, so our company did. We got a booth for something that we do locally called FearCon. And it's basically in the month of October, and anything horror is what it's all about. So we had a table that was right next to the celebrity table, which is the B movie actors and actresses that come in and sit down and meet and greet and charge $20 for an autograph, which I'm okay with.
That's normal.
They got to make money too, honestly. Like
They
these
do.
people have to survive, so do it. But Mark Torgel was one of the guests, and it was kind of slow. Like there were slow periods, and like these like celebrities would go walk around and just like mingle with the vendors and stuff. So he came over, he stopped by the booth, and we got to talking, and he said he was maybe what you guys are talking about is this movie called Toxie Tutu, I think is what it's called. And it's basically a documentary that he's been trying to get made about this like Toxic Avenger legacy for a long time. And for some reason, like there's these obstacles that just keep getting in his way. And I don't know what it is, but it's been a long time in the making. So perhaps that's what you're talking about rather than a remake, or no?
No, there is a remake being talked about. There's an actual legitimate remake being talked about. Here's my next question for you guys would be favorite scene. My favorite scene is in the Mexican place with the one-armed dude who's fighting Toxic Avenger with all like the one-armed chops, and he's throwing them.
Wait, he was one-armed?
He was one-armed. In real life, he was an amputee, and he only had one arm. And if you didn't notice that throughout
I
the
totally
scene?
breezed past that part.
Dude, yeah, and the whole that whole scene, the black dude who's fighting him, I forgot his name, and it's gonna kill me. I have the cast on my phone. I'll look it up.
Not Cigar Face.
Not Cigar Face.
Okay.
No, it's in the Mexican food restaurant.
The robbery, the armed robbery.
Gotcha.
Not the painted face guy, the black guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the knife.
Yeah.
He only uses one hand the whole time.
Was
Holy
it nipples?
shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just realized that. He just has the Jerry curl and shit, right?
He only has one hand the whole time, and he's fighting with one hand the whole time, and then Toxie rips his arm off. Well, that arm he rips off, he was actually an amputee. That's why that fake arm was there.
Oh.
And he rips it off and then beats up everybody else with it. And it's, dude, that seems
That's
so great.
great.
The actor who played the guy with the painted face, oh god, I can't remember his name. That's
He looks really familiar.
Anyways, he quit. He quit the film
Why?
because he had to point the shotgun at the baby.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that brings up a really good point. The one thing I did notice about this film, and I thought was hilarious, I guess, but also interesting, is that within the first, I want to say 25 to 30 minutes of the film, a like 10-year-old child had its head ran over by a vehicle, and a dog was shot with a shotgun.
Well, what would be? Yeah, that was in the Mexican restaurant. That was in the same scene.
Yep.
So, what would be your favorite scene then? Would it be the kid who gets his head squashed with that, which was a melon with a wig?
Well, obviously it wasn't a real fucking head. Jesus.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's how they did it. Was literally like a melon.
Mm-hmm. No, that's I mean, if you go, a melon has been used a lot in special effects for a lot of films. I mean, going back to
Melon days.
Original Night of the Living Dead. Actually, a lot of the zombies that get shot have melon heads.
I think Tom Savini was a big fan of using melons for blowing up heads.
I believe if you go to Dawn of the Dead and you go to the scene at the beginning where they're raiding the apartment complex, when that dude is flipping out and he blows the head off the shotgun, it's actually a melon packed full of a bunch of shit, and then Tom Savini legitimately shoots it with a 12 gauge.
I would like to note that gives
on
me
set.
a great idea for an independent film called Melonhead.
So let me ask
favorite scene though? You want to know my favorite scene?
What's your favorite scene? Please, I've been asking for an hour.
You have been asking for an hour.
It's not been that long.
You know, it's hard. Go to someone else first, because I gotta speak about that one.
Chris, what's your favorite scene?
Nothing was my favorite scene.
Anything with Bozo and his girlfriend are my favorite scenes.
Yes,
because that guy is such an insane actor. Like, he's just constantly, he's like, "You're stressing me out, Brenda," or whatever her name was, you know. And then she was the really evil one. Like, she was the one who was like, "Yeah, go back and run over him, or otherwise it's not worth any points," you know. So they go back and back over the kid's head, which is what you guys were just talking about. And like they were just so wicked and evil that anything with them I was entertained.
I'd like to note that I love that was his vice, was just stress.
That's what caused him to do the shit.
That was the only reason why he would
did.
run over a kid's head, was because I was stressed the fuck out. Like,
was anybody's favorite scene the gym scene? Like anything in the gym?
Yeah,
I will say, you know what? Let me take this. I will say my favorite scene was any scene that includes Slug, because anytime he was in the gym, he was smoking a fucking cigarette. Like, how fucking funny is that? I'm gonna go work out while smoking a cigarette.
When they're doing the crunches together and they're just passing the cigarette back and forth, I was laughing my ass off so hard. But what about the kill? What about that kill in the gym with the fat dude when he drops the weights on his head, dude? Oh, that
was really fucking
me
good.
too.
I'm not gonna
that
lie.
worked.
I would say I actually do go to the gym very, very rarely, and that's one of the big fears. When I see that giant rod raising up and down, I always think about my head being between those bars and getting sliced right the fuck through it.
I like how he started with very, very rarely.
Well, I have to pre-host that.
Mike, I'm afraid of giant rods also. But no, Julie was his girl, was Bozo's girlfriend.
Julie.
And, Slug's girlfriend. What's her name? I can't forget. Slug was.
Slug
had the brunette girlfriend.
Yeah, he had the brunette, and actually, she seemed like, I mean, from the get go, she seemed like she was kind of new to the game.
Who catches Melvin catches who having sex? Is that both?
That's Slug and his girlfriend.
Yep.
Slug and his girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah, and she
won't
whips
forget
out the
those tits.
switchblade. No. I will say, you know what? I am going to actually. Am I allowed to change my mind on my favorite scene?
I guess so.
Yeah, why not?
Can we do that? Okay.
guess.
I don't see
I
why
will
not.
say my favorite scene, because it's so fucking bizarre, in this film full of weird scenes, when Melvin gets pranked and they turn on the lights and he's by the pool. My favorite scene of that is not the fact that he's kissing a goat or that everybody's laughing at him. It's because, I don't know if any of you else noticed that, but in the background, in a sea of 18 and 20-year-old kids in bikinis and Speedos, there's an 80-year-old guy in a black Speedo and a white, like, broom handle mustache who's also there laughing. He seriously looks like John Carpenter. Like, what the fuck is that guy doing there?
Funny fact about that part too is the sheep had lice, and they didn't tell Melvin that the sheep had lice until after the scene was over.
Damn, that afro probably is just embedded
Dude, that's
with
such
it
a
after
Lloyd
that.
Kaufman thing to do.
I wish I could have asked him about that.
I have a favorite scene.
Who's you have your favorite scene, Mike? Let me know.
My favorite scene was in the steam room. He goes in there and he takes the girl
Nice.
and he puts her on a bunch of hot rocks that raid steam room.
Burns
He's
her
like-
ass.
And he
Yeah.
says, "Yeah, it's like, oh, this is for your hot ass." Which I just want to say, the most clever line in the entire film. Congratulations.
I don't know.
if-
I'm going to disagree with
on
you.
the double
Best lines.
entendre.
Hold
Let's
on.
go.
Let's
Let's go.
not all talk together. Let's not talk together, guys. I want to disagree with you on the best line, because I want to say
okay.
the best line was when the cop approached Cigar Face and he said, "You and your bi friends."
Oh, yeah.
And there's
yes.
just one
Yeah.
person who's
There's
in
one guy
drag.
that
Like,
could maybe be bi.
how
but we
does he
don't
know they're both his friends are bi? I think that's a hilarious scene. You and your bi friends.
I think he's just yeah.
That is
Go
good.
ahead, Chris. What were you gonna?
I'm sorry. I just wanted us all to share our favorite quotes from the movie because this is awesome. My favorite quote was from the black dude in the restaurant. He says, right before he gets his arm ripped off, he says, "I've always wanted to cornhole a blind bitch."
That's right. He does say that.
And I laughed and told everybody in the office about it. Mike, what's your favorite line?
Mike,
Oh
what's
no,
your
I
favorite
already
line?
said.
no,
it.
yeah, I
It
said
was-
we're
it
on to
was the
Cody
hot
right
ass.
now. Cody.
I don't know what my favorite line is. Honestly, there's so many goddamn good lines in that movie. Like, I think I like the visual stuff more than the actual lines because there's so much going on in the backgrounds. Like, you really have to pay attention. There's like fights going on in the back, random fights going on in the background, random. Like, everybody's dancing
Yeah, like all the time.
all the time. Body talk is one of my favorites.
You know, it pisses me off about this film is that I watched it 1.5 times prior to this talk, and that song has been fucking stuck in my head.
Body talk, body talk. Yeah, it gets just stuck in your head. What happened to that, dude? I kind of missed that because somewhere Troma went to the let's just play punk music in all our movies. And I kind of miss, like, let's play the music that fits. Don't get me wrong. I love their theme songs to all their movies, like Class of Nukem High and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love those. But I also miss, like, the 80s kind of, like, poppy feel that they would throw in. So, because, you know, before they did Toxic Avenger, they did movies that were, like sexual comedies, like Porky's-esque kind of rip-offs is basically what they did before they
Big
did.
surprise.
No,
I
I think one was called Soft Tits or something, or Soft something like that.
I
and it
didn't
was-
know that Troma existed prior to
Oh, they
Toxic
did.
Avenger.
They had a thing.
Yeah, they did.
You know, going back to all the stuff that's going on in the background, did anybody else notice during the aerobic class scene the dude in the background who looks just like fucking Chris Kattan? Did anybody else fucking see that?
I did not catch that.
I feel like there's so much to see in this film. Like, you have to watch it so many times.
You do.
to
There's
catch
so
all
many-
that.
there's
That's
so many
what's-
great
That's what
pranks,
kind of
jokes.
makes it a cult
Okay.
film as well.
Too.
Layers.
What about the stuntman who jumps out of the window? That's totally
Yeah,
not even the
blonde.
right. Yeah, not even the right body
You
type
mean the
or
same
anything.
stuntman who's on fire running the street, and it's
Yeah.
obviously some buff dude?
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, we're gonna take a break real quick. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Keep it up, Bozo. Keep it up. But remember, there's only one muscle you gotta worry about.
Hey guys, we're back with Cult Film in Review. We're going to talk about the film aspect of the film. If that sounds weird, I'll explain it later. But basically, we're going to talk about the actual art of the film, and that's really what we want to talk about now. I think it had a lot to say about 80s gym culture. I think it made a lot of fun of 80s gym culture. Mike, what'd you grab from the film? What'd you get from the film?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the film it deals with the things that were going on at the time. I think cult film, even horror film, in general, deals with this. And I agree with you 100% on the gym aspect of 80s. The Let's Get Physical was a very popular video at the time, but I also think there's something else that has to do with it, which is the Cold War. I think the Cold War has to do a lot with that fear of what nuclear fallout would do with the human body, and whether or not, I guess in this film, whether or not it would create a giant monster that would fight evil till its dying breath.
Is that Cold War that they're dealing with, or? Is that more like toxic waste? You're talking about more like industrialized, like shit's getting real.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, this is the time of history where we were scared of film. I'm sorry, Chris. Are you fucking smoking that vaporizer over there?
Did anybody else hear that high-pitched whisper as he took a hit?
I'm sorry. I'll lean out of the way.
And speaking of toxins, Chris is putting a few in his body right now.
I think it was less.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think it was less about the Cold War, more about environmental hazards and stuff like that, of what toxic waste can do to your community and what it can do to your environment.
I totally agree. I think, you're talking about, there was a lot of stuff going on around the 80s about dealing with nuclear waste and what's created with the production of either nuclear weapons or with using nuclear powers. What do you do with the waste? And I think that's, there's a lot of films, and we might touch on some of them in later podcasts, but one that comes to mind is like Return of the Living Dead. That's, of course, also based on nuclear waste.
Yes, absolutely.
Getting into the soil. So.
Well, I would like to say one thing to that. I agree with you 100%, but what to do with the nuclear waste is a very valid point. But at the same time, when we had things like Hiroshima and the bomb going off and stuff like that, and then moving to nuclear power as being a thing that we were actually using, there was at that time a problem with what do we do with this stuff? How do we put it? Like this stuff.
I love how deep you both are getting, but I do not think Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz were really that concerned with the environment. I think it was just a way to turn this human being into this creature.
I'm gonna totally agree with you, Chris. I think they didn't consciously choose to make it about that. I think they are victims of the times, and at the times most horror movies were dealing with this sort of thing. So I think what they were doing was, how do we make a movie as mainstream and as popular, make as much money as possible, and they dealt with it with a subject that was really popular and really.
I agree with the second half of what you say. I think they knew what they were doing with the environmental stuff because they were using it as a marketing ploy. That's what I honestly think.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it was genius to use it as a marketing ploy. How does everybody, Chris, how do you feel like they shot the film? How do you feel? Do you think that they shot it compared to other cult films or anything like that?
I don't know. I think it was
good.
I think it was super effective for what it was trying to get out of its audience. Like we discussed earlier, the weight dropping on the guy's head. I think it has to do with editing as well, but primarily, like, they knew how to build the suspense, even though this was a comedy movie and you weren't supposed to feel scared. Like, I found myself tensing up because I knew it was coming, and the way they paced it out it drove that emotion, I guess.
You brought up actually a good point, and I wanted to ask you guys your opinion. I think the editing of this film is atrocious. What are your thoughts?
I think the editing is its saving grace.
I totally disagree.
I think it's a saving grace.
Really?
Well, look how long they did not show Toxie's face.
That's a terrible decision. Why is that?
Yeah. I thought that was a great decision. Look at every horror movie before it. they don't show the monster's face until the very end.
Yeah, but he's not
Yeah,
a
but
monster, and
yeah,
it's
he's
not
the
a horror
hero.
movie. He's the hero.
But in their eyes, it was a horror movie, and he's the hero, but he's also the monster. Like that's their take on it. That's their different switch. Think about it. That's part of the filmmaking magic there, the art. They took the spin on the villain as the monster, and instead turned the villain into the hero.
I would want to agree with you if the reveal of the monster was actually something to be reckoned with, but it was not. It was really kind of like a limp dick of a reveal.
I want to go off of what Chris said about the pacing of things. I actually found that the pacing of this film was actually pretty atrocious. We don't get into even seeing Toxie until about 20 minutes into the film. We're still dealing with the mop
It's
kid.
longer than that, dude.
It could be much longer than that. And I felt like they drew that out quite a bit. Like, why am I watching these asshole kids bully this kid with a mop for 30-odd minutes before we actually see what is the meat of the film, which is Toxie? Like, I don't know that I agree with great pacing.
I think that Troma was smart enough to see a franchise. And, like, if you look at any of the great franchises, kind of going back to what Cody was saying, think about Friday the 13th. You didn't even fucking see Jason in that. That wasn't even about that. You know what I mean? They were just trying something out. Well, when you go into it with, like, a character or creature, like, you kind of think of it like, where's the story going to continue? So I would say in the second and the third, we've already been introduced. Now we're showing the character's face a lot more. It's not a secret anymore. We built it up.
I would have to say, like, to your point, Mike, I really love the scenes with Melvin. I think Melvin's probably one of the better actors in the film, and I think he is, dude. You can't help but feel sorry for him, and it might be just his quirky looks, but like, he's hilarious. Ooh. Like, I don't know, that stuff cracks me up.
I'm going to say that Marissa Tomei was the best actor in that movie.
Well, she went on to win an Oscar, so...
Boom.
Yeah.
Who was she in that movie?
She was.
You don't recognize her?
No.
She comes running out of the shower and she's spraying herself with like body deodorant.
Basically, when Toxie's trying to kill Bozo's girlfriend and she catches them and he like shields his face and shit, that's Marissa Tomei who catches her. She's on the scene. She's on film for literally 2 seconds.
That's amazing.
Big break.
In the director's cut only, I should add.
Good for her.
So I think the real shining star of this movie that I would have to say is definitely the effects.
Mike, you did have a point you wanted to make. What was that?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about, the pacing and stuff like that, and whether or not what was the kid with the mop's name? I'm sorry,
Melvin.
Melvin.
Did you watch the movie?
I am not discrediting Melvin's performance in any way. It's
How
just
dare you?
But
That's Mark Torgel, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Mark fucking Torgel.
You'll never work in this town again, Mike.
Is Mark Torgel still alive? Is he
Yes,
still...
I saw him.
Mark Torgel.
Chris just told a story.
I would like to state that you were a fantastic actor, and my problem is not with your acting. It was not that at all. But you are not the title character of the film. His name is the Toxic Avenger, and I felt like I wanted to see him.
Mike has a good point there. I mean, you really going back to what you were saying, Chris. This is you think Lloyd Kaufman saw it as you could make more sequels out of this. If that was the mindset you're going to it, then you need to go into it thinking that this first film is the origin story. And don't you think you would want to see your hero or your monster,
They didn't
whether
do it in
you wanted
Halloween.
it?
No, because you have to tell the story of where he came from, and he came.
I understand
from
that, but you don't need 45 minutes to tell the story of where he came from.
Especially, you don't need to show him being bullied for half an hour.
No, exactly.
You
He
only
needs
need
to be bullied.
I'd say it was probably
Let's take
15
something
minutes.
like Spider-Man. I mean, at least even that, he gets his powers, and then we kind of slowly see the progression of how his powers form and how he becomes Spider-Man. This is not the case with Toxie.
No.
Toxie
Yes, it
gets the
is.
powers, and he just starts killing things right off the bat.
No, Cody, because in Spider-Man, he gets his powers within the first 20 minutes of the film.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does Toxic Avenger not build his own house in the toxic dump? I'm
what the
sorry.
fuck's that got to do with anything?
Is that his power? Is building houses?
He can build a solid shed, a solid shack. All right,
He's
out
a
of
fantastic
waste.
carpenter.
No, but but what
He's like Jesus.
But what I'm saying is, in him meeting Sarah and their relationship, that no one's talked about that yet. So let's.
That's halfway through the film, though.
That's not even halfway. That's more than halfway through the
It's like
film.
a
that
third quarter
actually
of the
you
film.
guys-
It is.
I think you're overestimating how long it actually takes for him to like get his powers. I think
Right,
it
well,
was
maybe
about
it just
15 minutes.
I
maybe it
timed
just felt
this.
like a fucking long time.
Okay, so let's talk about the it's weird because the relationship between Toxie and Sarah is a very. She's blind.
Yeah, can I just say it's very cliche.
I will agree with that.
It makes plenty of sense. As soon as I saw her, I knew that was going to be Toxie's girlfriend, because who could love this atrocious-looking beast, and why would anyone love this thing? It has to be the blind girl, right?
It's a classic story.
It is a classic story.
But classic stories are the precursor to cliches.
Yeah,
I mean,
they always work. They always work. That's what Hollywood does.
No, I understand that, but I mean, it was it could have been a sighted girl. Could it not have been a sighted girl? Not saying that there's anything wrong with unsighted women.
Can I say this? Can I say this about this? Best sex scene in the movie is between her and Toxie.
Why?
Because it's fully clothed. It's so goddamn funny. I
like how he was
so
still
hard.
wearing the tutu outfit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fucking like whatever.
Great. It was a great scene.
To say about that
great scene. All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
He doesn't look very good to me.
He's faking it, Julie. He's faking it.
I think he's in trouble.
Julie, this guy, if he can't take a joke, he stinks.
All right, guys, we're back, and we're going to give our final reviews for the Toxic Avenger. We're going to do it with mops this time. So I'm glad that we could do it. I'm actually going to give this film myself 4 out of 5 mops. For me, this film is helped shape me as a filmmaker and what I find funny. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 mops.
It's a bold review.
It is a bold review. Mike, what do you give it?
I'm going to give it 2 mops out of 5.
2 mop? Wow,
Yeah.
that is low.
I'm going to give it 2 mops out of 5. Look, and you know, it's based on personal feelings and stuff like that. I think there's a pure audience for this film, and I respect all the people out there that love this film and stuff like that. But personally, not my type of cult film, not my type of thing. Respectfully to everybody out there, and I respect you, Cody, for being somebody that is influenced by this film.
All right, Chris, how many mops do you give this film?
Well, you thought Cody was bold. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5
Oh
mops.
my god.
Let me tell you why. Because the movie is such a legend in our culture at this point. Like,
Agreed.
It did everything it set out to do, the best that it could do it for the money that was spent, and it is like so ingrained in our hearts and our culture as far as, you know, if you like cult films, like, you can't not know this movie. So it obviously is one of the most effective cult films of all time, in my opinion. There's a lot of them, but it's one.
All right, Kyle, what do you have to? How many mops, bro?
You know what? I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go right. I'm gonna take the middle route. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 mops. In all honesty, I don't enjoy the film. Going off what Mike said, I can appreciate the following and I can appreciate the subculture that it created, but in terms of a film overall, I can't quite say I found it enjoyable. It was fun to laugh at, but not something I'm going to watch again unless you want to review it a second time and command me to watch it again. That's about it.
All right, guys, so that's it for us today. Join us next time when we review Big Trouble in Little China. It's going to be awesome. I'm Cody Everett. You can find me at the official Cody Everett on Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook at Cody Everett. Right next to me is Mike. Mike, where can they find you at?
Mike, you can find me at Mike Salustio on Twitter. I apologize. I said at Michael Salustio on Twitter. Don't go to that one. I think that's a personal trainer of something. So we'll try to edit that out if we can. If not, I hope you watch this entire show so that you could hear that correction.
No one's going to watch the show because they're listening to it. Chris, where can people find you at?
You can find me at...
They could have watched their dial, for Christ's
I don't
sakes.
like Twitter, so don't look for me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, Guarorama, GWARORAMA. Also, go to the midnightreleasing.com, thebraindamagefilms.com, and maximmedia.com.
All right, Kyle Smith, where can people find you at?
You can get me on Instagram at Pliskin426. That's Pliskin, as in snake, 426. You can also find me, if you are on Twitter, you won't really find me, but you'll find some great quotes at goddammit.chris@twitter.com. And then also at Bluefield Audio at Facebook. Jesus Christ, let me try that again. How about facebook.com/Bluefield Audio? And that's it.
All right, guys, thanks for listening to us yammer about films. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you'll listen to us next week because we'll be talking about more films.